I think people are engaged with the concept of a positive future. I think people want a better future for their kids, right? Like they actually want it. They just don't necessarily know how to go about it. But you know, because this community decided it would try to go about it, let's try it.
And with this positive attitude and a dream, the small community of 30 people called Demmitt 2 years ago decided to build a new community center. But just not any community center, one that would last generations and also be sustainable.
All the floors on the main floor are in-floor heat. There's a little 100,000 BTU boiler that heats the entire building, right? So our 100,000 BTU, just to give you a sense, I have a house about a quarter the size of this, and I have a 160,000 BTU furnace. So it's a tiny little thing about this big with a water jacket around it and a little flame. I'll show it to you later down in the basement. To supplement that heat, we put this masonry stove in here. And what it does is it's got a firebox in the bottom that just burns full bore. You fill it up full of wood, and you just light it, and it goes full bore. It burns for about an hour, and you don't feel the heat except from the door for about 8 hours. It starts to seep through the rocks. But what it does is it sends the up in the smoke inside this thing, up through the pizza oven, and then back down, all the way down to the bottom here, inside these stones, right? And then back out the back and up the chimney. So you're heating up all of this mass. We put it in front of the window so that we could attract some of the solar gain during the day and dissipate it at night, right? And the same thing with the thermal mass of the floor. To heat this up, it takes a long time to heat it up, but it also takes a long time to cool it off.
The solar windows let the light and heat in, and the straw bale walls keep it in. And the waste?
Basically, what you do is the stuff we've got it filled up to here with shavings right now from the like from a planer mill. Filled up to here to get them started. Then I put some water in there, and the water gets you inoculate the compost, right? So with moisture and then also with whatever you put in it. So eventually this fills up to here, right? And after every event, you give this a few cranks. This has like forks on it to turn, right? You give that a few cranks, and you give it a few pumps of the liquids from the bottom. They go back over the top, right? And it's got spray nozzles inside there. Once this thing fills up to here, you let it drain for a day or two, right? And then you open that door and you bring your wheelbarrow over and you shovel the stuff in, right? Here you've got tines as well that hold the stuff up, right? So by the time, so I empty that thing out, right? And then close the door, and then we give this a crank and everything, this a crank and this a crank, and everything drops a level. Then it stays there for another 3 years or however long it takes to fill up this thing, right? So the stuff is pretty old by the time you're having to remove it. So hopefully it's unrecognizable. And if not, well, we'll deal with it, right? Oh, this room is heated, like I said, by the refrigerator upstairs. So all the heat from the refrigerator comes down here and heats the compost, because compost should be warmer, right? So the more events we have, the warmer it is in this building. There was some concerns it might get too hot, but it doesn't seem to be an issue. So I mean, so we're, but we are heating with beer. Like we are heating this room with beer. And whatever, juice. Sorry, like it's not always beer.
With the cost of $1.3 million, believe it or not, is dirt cheap. It should have cost $2.5, but with the generosity of local businesses and volunteers, they were able to keep the cost down. And now, the grand opening and a string of concerts set for this winter, it shall sustain itself with sold-out shows. This is Bert Goulet for Shaw TV in the capital of the peace, Dawson Creek.